Hello, everybody. Welcome to Passionate and Purposeful Women platform. I am Vandana Sehgal, your host. I am an author and a holistic wellness coach, and there are three important things that I do. First, I help women in finding mental and emotional wellness uh, so that they can find joy, health, and balance in their life. Second, I write books on various aspects which are related to life realities. And third, I love talking to passionate women like Dr. Indu Bansal. Welcome, Dr. Indu Bansal, and thank you for accepting the invite and taking out the time to be on this platform and share your passion. Dr. Indu Bansal is an oncologist, and she is the director of the Department of Oncology Radiation in Narayana Super Specialty Hospital, which is in Gurgaon, right? Yeah. So, Dr. Indu Bansal, before I start asking you how you found your passion, please tell people about you, about your, your love for your work and what do you do? Yes.
Hello, good evening, everyone. And I'm really very, very excited and happy to meet you in person online. And thanks for giving me an opportunity and considering me worth enough to appear on your show. So I'm really truly honored and privileged to share platform with you. So I'm really very, very much impressed with the work that you are doing. And I mean, people like you inspire women like us. So I'm really honored to be your guest today. Regarding me, and by the way, I'm reading your book and I'm loving every
Thank you.
word of it.
Thank you.
So yeah, so I'm basically a cancer specialist or oncologist, and I've been in the profession since 1989 when I entered the profession and did my in 89 I joined MBBS and then I did my MD in radiation oncology. So I would say that my father is instrumental in that he realized at that time that oncology is going to be a great branch to be, and it is something which you should go. So I was getting other branches as well, but he said, "Ki future is in oncology, so you should join that." At that time, I didn't understand, but now I realize that I'm definitely in the right profession. Number one being because I like talking to people. So I could not have been any non-clinical branch, that is for sure. And since I joined my MD degree, that was in 1996, oncology has changed a lot and the number of patients are increasing. There is so much advancement in technology. Survivals of the patients have gone up and people are living longer. So now I have patients whom I treated say 20 years back and they are all alive and kicking. So this is what keeps us going forward. So, and definitely the diagnostics have improved, the treatments have improved, radiological advancements have improved, and molecular testing has also improved. So now we are getting more and more patients in earlier stages, and even the patients who are in stage 4, they are living longer and leading a normal life. So that is what makes me very happy to work in the field of oncology.
Yeah. Sorry for the disruption of the internet. We're talking about, you were telling that how your father encouraged you to join oncology, sorry.
So I think he realized that the oncology field is going to be the most demanding field because the cancer patients are going to increase, and so I joined that. I really enjoyed working with cancer patients because when they come to us, they're in so much pain, and if we can relieve or ease their suffering by a little bit, I think it changes their lives. So I've seen a lot of difference. What I believe is that first counseling. is what matters the most. Like if a patient is going to a doctor who says, no, you're not going to be cured, or they show a very bad prognosis, or they tell them that the treatment is going to be very toxic, they just run away. So we have to, uh, I think in oncology, counseling patients is more important and equally important than the actual treatment that you give. And they all, some are from poor families, some are from rich families, but ultimate goal is the same: to prolong life, to increase the quality of life, and as well as to improve their length of life. So I think a lot of advancements have happened in oncology, not just in field of cancer screening, but as well as early diagnosis, prevention, then diagnostic field, molecular oncology, and treatment. So that's why I'm seeing more and more patients are now living longer, and they're not just living longer, but they are leading a purposeful life that they really want to live. So that is my purpose, not just to treat, but to give them back what they to make them better before the diagnosis. So that is what we try to do. This is what I love about my job.
Wow, that's such an interesting and inspiring thing, that you don't just treat the people, you actually help them to find a purpose in their life. And it seems you have made this as your own purpose now. Is that true?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to do something. The problem is in India is still that patients come to us in third and fourth stages, and which is, so then it becomes really tough to give them a good length of life. We can definitely improve their quality of life. So I always wanted to do something to create awareness about cancer, so that people come up and they get themselves screened. So I started doing school orientation programs for 10th and 12th, 11th and 12th class children, and I must have done close to maybe 400, 500 such programs, and just to create awareness and to tell children not to start smoking, not to start taking to alcohol or unhealthy sexual practices. And if we educate children, they can take care of their parents as well. So I do a lot of cancer screening programs to create awareness about cancer. So and definitely I want to be updated with the advanced technologies that are happening. But it's very, very important to create awareness. That's what I feel, because 70% cancers are preventable. And when I tell that, people don't believe it, but actually they are. So if we do just some lifestyle modifications, if we go for regular checkups, if we do preventive health checkups, if we notice what we are eating, and small things, if we don't take the suicide stick, that is tobacco in any form, or alcohol, then I think we can prevent so many cancers. So we should work more in that field, which I'm trying to do. Let me see how much I can achieve in that platform.
That's
Yeah.
inspiring. I was thinking that we must have another session on the eating habits, probably in my group, which is women authors and bloggers support each other.
Wow.
There you can come and talk to so many women and educate them in what kind of food they should be eating, because uh,
Definitely.
they are the ones who are actually preparing for their family, for their kids. Yeah, that is
So
really
I
amazing.
one message that I would like to give here is that in India, I don't know in rest of the countries, but in India, females, they keep on neglecting their health. So if I've always believed that if you educate one female, you educate whole house. If the health of one female, the female of the house is healthy, then the house runs smoothly. So I think it's very, very important for we as women to take responsibility of our health and not leave it that my husband will take me to a doctor or someone will accompany me. I always tell, if we can go for shopping, if we can go for parties alone, why can't we go for self checkup? So I think that's very, very important that as females, we understand the importance of our own health. That is very, very, not just physical health, but mental health as well, which you are doing a great job in that field. So we must work together.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would be honored to, really. So, how did you get you, like you explained that it was your father who brought you into this, he suggested. Uh, how did you grow yourself into this? How did you turn it into your passion? Because there would have been many other areas where, like, as a lady of the house, you need to manage everything. Uh, so, how do you actually create time for all of this?
So
I
I'm
will ask, I will tell you why I'm asking this question, because, as you said, women don't take care of their health. Similarly, they don't take care of their mental and emotional health. Along with the physical health, they really don't take care of mental and emotional health. And we as women are really great in making excuses when it comes to us. We can do anything for anybody, for the family members, for anybody, friend, and all. But when it comes to us, then we have excuses, and we also say we are tired and all of those. So, through
true.
you, who is so busy with the work, and you are doing, additionally, you are doing these workshops for children, building their awareness, trying every measure to prevent cancer as much as possible. And along with that, let me add right now that you are a poet and you are a painter as well. So I want to break this notion in a woman's mind that, we don't have time, really.
Oh.
So how do you manage?
So as you asked about my journey, I must say that I'm blessed in a way that I was born to very incredible parents, and who let me do what I wanted to do. I have a twin brother and I have an elder brother, and but there was no discrimination in the family, so that was one thing which really helped. And then I got married also in a very loving family. My in-laws are extremely good, and my husband is very very encouraging, and I have marvelous children. So that way I'm blessed, because I do so many activities that at times the house, I'm not able to give that much time to house. And I can also tell that the journey has definitely not been smooth. I mean, when I did my MD from that place, so my thesis uh, guide, Dr. BP Das, he nurtured me like his own daughter. He gave me so much love that I really instantly liked the profession. So that was number one. And then I moved from my place of studies to Delhi, and then it was a very tough time for me. And in fact, when my daughter was just 2 years old, I resigned from my job, and at that time there were not too many cancer hospitals. And when I resigned from the job on a 1 month notice, then people had written me off. They thought that her career is finished, and now she'll just look after children, or she'll be running the family, and people stopped talking to me. Let me be very honest. It was, so there are some dark phases in your life, but I think they make you better. They give you a lot of power, and they let you introspect. So there was a time when I was the only oncologist practicing in Gurgaon. I didn't know driving, and there were no cancer hospitals, no big hospitals. And I would tell them, I would go to each and every doctor and tell them that I'm an oncologist, and I started free practice. And I said, you just send me patients, and they would look at me and see, ki, so young, and she'll look after cancer patients. But so somebody said, you should help your husband. He's a physician. You should sit with him. Somebody said, look after your family. Somebody said, do a diploma in gynae or things like that. But I said that I have to do something in oncology, and I gradually started working, and I started traveling to Delhi. I would not get even a single penny, and I saw patients that way. But gradually, I mean, people recognize that I'm trying something extra, and I got a lot of support from people from whom I did not expect anything. So there were so many angels who kept on coming on my way, like Paras Hospital owner, Dr. Dharminder Nagar. I really want to thank him at this platform. Then there is Dr. Sudarshan Day. There were so many people. My Dr. Vivek Kaushal and Dr. A.K. Anand. There are so many people in my journey, Dr. Harit Chaturvedi. So these all people, they were so much instrumental in guiding me. So although I used to leave home at 7 o'clock in the morning and I used to enter home at 10 o'clock in the night, and still my husband, he supported me. The only thing was that I would take care of the house as well, that none of the days the food was not, it was not that food was not uncooked, or so even if I would come at 10 o'clock in the night, I would sit with my children, teach them, help them in their homework. And then for my presentations, I would sit at 11 o'clock and sit till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and finish my work. So actually, I always feel that this time concept is in our mind. There is nothing like shortage of time. And as women, we are always thinking that there's something like work-life balance. I say you will never find a balance. I feel that it's more like work-life integration. You have to understand at what point of time what is more important. So at times your dishes may be dirty, your house may not be too clean. But at that time, if your studies are more important, then you will have to prioritize. So I think prioritizing, and as females, we have to understand that house has to run, come what may. We cannot neglect our household responsibilities, but then you have to make sacrifices here and there in certain areas. But if you have to decide what is your priority, what do you actually want to achieve, and then you will keep on getting people on your way who will hold your hand gently and take you up. And so there will always be clouds, there will be dark clouds, but you will always find some rainbows somewhere in those clouds which will guide you. This is what I believe in.
Yeah. And I would really like to add something. You gave credit to so many people who helped you in coming back into your career, who were like an angel in your life and supported you, especially at a time when you were trying to restart your journey. And this is interesting. You didn't even give any credit to yourself. The kind of determination, the commitment you were showing, persistence that you were showing, it was easier for you also to say that, okay, I'm not finding work, that's okay, I will sit at home, right? But
Yeah.
you didn't do that. So I want you to talk about that because you haven't really put light on the kind of, that inner motivation you showed without, and it was all your hard work, following up, asking for work, and even you were ready to travel, you were ready to do the work for free. 10 o'clock coming at home, or leaving at 7 and coming back by 10 o'clock. I'm sure you must have managed somehow how to cook food, to keep the house clean and everything, home management, all that. And I'm sure it was you who managed, right? And you haven't given any credit to yourself, and you haven't spoken about
So,
your inner strength. I want you to really reflect on that and share
okay.
about.
So I can say definitely that the journey has not been very smooth. It looks very smooth when other people look and say that she is director of radiation oncology and she's running a department on her own. But as I said, that the struggle never ends, and as a female, our struggle never ends. And you come across so many people who just want to pull your leg and they want to drag you down and they want to create negativity around you. So I think the most important lesson that I learned was that I will not let others' negativity affect me. So when I realized that people were creating aura around me of negativity, then I started staying away from them. And I thought I'll just concentrate on my work. And as I said, that talking to patients is relaxing for me. So, and I like to counsel patients, and this is what patients need. So, whenever I would feel depressed, I would just talk to patients. And when I would listen to their their woes, then I would realize that their pain is much, much more than what I'm going through. So one thing is that all the patients, each and every patient was an inspiration for me, number one. And number two, I think, as I said, family support is definitely important. But at the same time, I read so many books, inspirational books, and I committed so many mistakes as a female when I reflect back on my journey. But then I realized that I kept on reading inspiring books because whenever I would feel depressed, I would read a good book. In fact, my children laugh at me and say, "You have such a big library, but we don't want to take any book from your library because they're only inspiration." so but then I realized that and I thought that I will focus myself on my work rather than the negativity around me, and I will not do the same that happened with me. I mean, so I when you join a new place, then people are always looking at you, they are criticizing you, or they are trying to put you on a scale. So I thought I'm not going to get bogged down by that scale. Rather, the bricks that people throw at me, I will put them together and stand on top of them. So that is how I thought that I will keep on working, and my focus was to spread cancer awareness. So initially I gave so many talks only on cancer awareness. Okay, so then I gained then people realized that she can speak and she's interested in that area, then automatically, offers just keep on coming. And in fact, because I had so as females we do so many mistakes, so I prepared a presentation, a PPT. You won't believe from the mistakes that I did on why women don't reach the top positions. So I made a presentation and I've given it in few corporates. And I realized that those are the mistakes that I was doing, and nobody taught me that I'm doing those mistakes. So I wanted to take these mistakes to people. And at times we just talk about the achievements that we do. But I think as females, it's also important to share the mistakes that we did so that other person does not commit the same mistakes, and we can help each other grow. If I start of thinking, I keep on thinking that I have to grow, but if I don't take my team along, if I don't take care of my subordinates, if I don't take care of my juniors, if I don't take care of the females, a pregnant female in my department, and then there's no advantage of being a female boss. So I think it's very, very important that we understand from the struggles that we went through and keep on educating people on the same. So I think keeping a focus on what you want in your life, and I know that if you are determined, you always get people who will help you. The moment you step down, there will be so many other people to pull you down. But you have to just keep on moving. There will be the path is of course up and down, but and and also at the same time, it's very, very important not if you have reached a point, it's very important to still stay balanced and humbled, because you never know when the bad time can come again. So you should have a lot of gratitude for people who helped you in your journey, and forgive people who did what they should not have. But we have to leave that past also behind. That's also very, very important, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So you have done a lot of self-work to rise above all the negativity that would have come across your way. And this is something which I find in everybody's life, hardships, struggles are in everybody's life. How we look at it and how we keep negative elements outside of our thoughts, our feelings is something that provides that inspiration or the determination to keep moving forward. If we
True.
get caught in the negativity, then it's like we get stuck. We ourselves put
True.
ourselves into that complexity of negativity, which is really hard to break. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you wanted to say something.
No, you please proceed.
I,
I
I
think
actually want
reading is
you.
important. I think reading is important. Reading
Yeah.
is very important. You should read good books. So that can take away a lot of negativity, because every time you can't call a friend and she might be caught up in her own web of problems. So you should have some good books as companions, and you should always develop a hobby as well. So to ward away all that negativity around you.
That's a very important point which you said. We normally as adults we feel that hobbies are supposed to be followed till we are in school, but they are our best friends. We should follow. Even after school and college, we must stay involved in one or the other hobby. Keep talking about hobby and talking about reading books. I need to mention that you write also,
Yes.
which is, you have written poetry for Shida Sakhi and Kahi Na Kahi, Kahi Unkahi. Sorry.
Yes.
You have been a co-author for that. So take us through that journey. And I remember talking to you, and you were telling me these are your stress busters, uh,
Yeah,
writing and painting. So, and I've read that your poem is so touching. I have shared in my group also. I love that poem.
thank you so much.
So, what inspired you? Is that your hobby, or you gradually moved towards these writing and painting?
So I can say that regarding writing. So I think the first poem that I wrote was for my son when he was born. Okay, so जैसे
Lovely.
लोरी सुनाते हैं, so that's how my poetry started. And then I did not write much, but what I did was that when I spent a lot of time with my children, and I used to help them a lot in their homeworks and all. And then so there was little stories that we all read, like Cinderella, Pinocchio, and things like that. So initially, I was teaching my daughter to write poetry, and we converted these storybooks into poetry. All these
Ah,
Cinderella, Pinocchio, and things, Thumbelina, and things like that. So we started converting them into poetry. So gradually, she developed a habit of writing poetry. And but for a few years, I did not write much. And then I think I converted into cancer poetry. So that because when I was giving all these lectures and all, I realized that uneducated women, or the people who don't have access, who are not able to read, we need something in native language. So what I did was I started writing small poetry, like 4 5 lines, to create awareness about cancer poetry, like how to diagnose a cervical cancer, how to diagnose a head and neck cancer. So I wrote short poetry on cancer to spread awareness in simple language, which even a village women could read. And then I'm a very, very emotional person. I'm very emotional. So children even laugh at me if I'm watching a movie on TV, then I might just cry if I'm seeing an emotional scene. So when I started seeing pain in the lives of cancer patients, and then I started writing poetry on cancer, that like how a person would feel if they are diagnosed with cancer. So I started putting myself in their place and started writing. So that is how I start, and they were appreciated. So I didn't know, I never learned anything. So gradually, when I started writing, then I kept on writing, and now what happens is I think the thoughts automatically just download. So a thought will come in my mind, and things. There have been times when I've been driving and a thought has come, and I've parked my car on the side and noted down those lines in the mobile, and then by the time I've reached hospital, I've finished the poetry. Things like that. So that is how poetry formed. And then someone read some poetry somewhere. I'd shared with my friend, and she said that you should get them published. So that's how someone approached me, and few of my I've not written too many, but that's how the poetry started. So I write in both languages, Hindi as well as English, and I've written a lot on women empowerment, on cancer, on rape victims, acid attack victims, then on eunuchs, then on environment, how to save environment, then on the plight of laborers, things like that. And then written romantic stuff as well. So, so recently I've started writing two-liners and four-liners as well. But sometimes I write too long, and my children say, "Mama, this is a world uh, of two-liners and four-liners, and you write 20 lines. Who has time to read your 20 lines?" so, so that's how the journey of poetry started. Regarding painting, I've always loved painting, so I used to help children in their homeworks, and they were the most creative homeworks. But then now, as you get time, then you keep on exploring yourself, and then you try to explore different mediums. So I love to cook as well, and I've won one or two cookery competitions in the hospital. I've been the master chef of my hospital.
So you are a multi-talented
So
person.
little things I keep on doing. You would say jack of all, master of none. I don't know, but yes. So I think you have to just keep on, because these things, they take you away from, otherwise my branch oncology is a depressing branch. So if I
Yeah.
don't do something creative, and if I'm not sane, I can't keep my patients sane. So it's very important for me to keep a positive frame of mind. That's how these things help me remain sane. That's it.
Yeah, and that is why I think it doesn't look like a work. It is more of a play for you.
Yes, yes, I really enjoy my work. So, so I always feel that, like Narayana Health, we have a very lovely management. We have Commander Bali, who is our regional director, and Dr. Devi Shetty is the owner of this chain of hospitals. So these people give you a lot of liberty to work, and they are very humane kind of management. So that's why I always tell people, go to a place where you don't have to think every day, oh my God, I have to go to hospital again. So if you are working at a place where you don't have to think every day or drag yourself to a place, that's the place one should work. Then automatically you will enjoy the work that you are doing. That's it.
Very true. Yeah, yeah. It has been lovely talking to you. We can continue, but I know you have to go for another webinar. So I don't want to hold you for long. It has like a privilege talking to you. Any last thing you want to share? And I really want to actually stress upon what you said, that it's more of the patient's mental health that helps them in treating and coming out of cancer, because I know a case within my family. One of my cousin brother, he was also detected by cancer, and it is his sheer positivity that helped him in coming out of the entire treatment. And in fact, he was also invited by one of his doctor who was treating him to share his experience in front of other cancer patients. He was given as an example, who was
Wow.
seeing everything with positivity, and he really worked towards healing himself. So, any message you want to give to people?
Uh,
Yeah.
So I think that's a very wonderful question that you have posed, and I must definitely want to tell you that cancer diagnosis is just the beginning of a new life. It's not the end of life. The problem is, the moment you are diagnosed with cancer, people feel that it's the end of life. It's just the life just changes, okay? And you have to accept the diagnosis. Running away, being in a denial phase doesn't help. And please listen to the doctors, to the specialists. In India, there are so much myths कि biopsy करोगे तो कैंसर फैल जाएगा, biopsy मत करो, रेडिएशन से सब जल जाएगा, कीमोथेरेपी बहुत पेनफुल होती है. So ये इतने सारे myths हैं, but we have so much advanced techniques in treatment, and we have so much beautiful ways, so much beautiful techniques in radiation by which we can reduce the side effects. Number one. So please go to the proper specialist, ask n number of questions, but don't rely on knowledge of people who don't know anything about the disease. Okay, सो कि फैमिली में उसको हुआ था तो इसलिए हमने नहीं कराना कीमो बिकॉज इट वाज वेरी पेनफुल. सो यू मे नॉट नो कि what treatment you are going to get, what type of chemotherapy or radiation you are going to get, on which machine, which facility. Number one. Number two, that we can, as I've always been telling, that length of life is important, but quality of life is also very, very important. So rehabilitation does not start after the end of treatment. Rehabilitation starts from the day of diagnosis. Okay, so we have to work on that. Number three, have even after you are diagnosed with cancer, you can still fulfill your bucket list. You won't believe if I tell you that at 90 years of age, one of my patients, he wrote 2 Punjabi poetry books and romantic poetry, and he dedicated those books to me. So because I kept on telling him, you should write, and he said, at this age, I said, yes, you can still write. So if a 90-year-old can pen down a poetry book, then anybody can achieve anything. Similarly, I have a child who is just 5-year-old, brain tumor, and he has started his own YouTube channel. And that was that child who would not get down from his mother's lap when he would come for radiation. But at the end of radiation, he was so comfortable. He has lost all that, what do you say, shyness, and he has started his YouTube channel. So if a 5-year-old can do things which I'm not an expert, and a 90-year-old can pen down a book, then I think anybody can achieve anything, irrespective of whether you have a cancer diagnosis, whether you have a limb, whether your breast is amputated, whether your voice is not there. So we can do anything. So it's don't and one thing more that I want to say is that have a lot of gratitude. If you don't have gratitude, because we have to understand that caregivers are also in pain. So as a patient, it's our responsibility to pay due respect to the caregivers in the family as well as in the hospital or wherever you are, because they can't even express their pain. As a patient, you will have all the sympathy. So if you have gratitude, more and more people will come to you, will be happy to look after you. So still you have, and for females, I must say that please don't ignore your health. If you love yourself, go for regular pap smear, go for your mammography, go for your ultrasounds, x-rays, and don't give the key of your life to someone else. It's us as females who have to take charge of our own health and that of the family. So, and as you said, that it's very, very important to love yourself. If you don't love yourself, nobody will ever love yourself. So as they say, charity should begin at home. So we should first start taking of our physical health, mental health, spiritual health, and as females, it's our responsibility to help women grow, which you are doing. So I think every day there can be rainbows every day if you just look for them in the clouds. So we have to keep on moving, keep on smiling, and keep on writing, as you said. So
Yeah.
I really have a lot of respect for people who have their own books, because that's my dream. I have written book chapters, I have written, contributed here and there, but I really want to come back to you again when I have my own book, something on in my field as well as off field. So I would like come to and take tips from you on that. So you should
Of
conduct a
course.
session on how to write. I would be really happy to learn from you. It would be great.
Sure, I would, whatever I could do to help you, to support you in writing your book, and I would be the first one to buy your book as well, because there would be so much valuable content in it. And I would be waiting. I really like what you said is about, rainbow is everywhere. It is there in smaller things. It's just that we have to try and look at it. And yeah, you are showing rainbow to your patients every day. Otherwise, it's hard for a 90-year-old to write or a 5-year-old to go under radiation. So you are a rainbow for them. I must say.
They inspired me. I think we have to become a better version of ourselves every day. We need to work on ourselves every day. Otherwise, I mean, the life is going to be so drab. So
Yeah.
it, there has to be some improvement in some aspect of your life every day. Then only your life can be a little better. So
Right. Right.
that's it.
So thank you, Dr. Bansal, for your time, for talking to us, sharing your passion, and sharing such important information for women who need to learn to take care of themselves. And yeah, um, thanks for your time. All the viewers who are watching us, you can subscribe to the channel. I will also put Dr. Indu Bansal's contact details about where she works. You can approach her. Her LinkedIn details I will put in, and you can always reach to her with any queries. It is privilege talking to you, Dr. Bansal. Thanks for your
Thank
time.
you so much. It's a real pleasure. Real pleasure. Thank you for having me here. And thanks to all the listeners and for all the love that you showered on me. I'm really blessed and honored to be here today. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Bansal, you have a great day. Bye.
You as well. Bye.